Bible in a nutshell, the dystopian code they never told you. The prison of the unseen. You are currently living inside a psychological construct built by words you did not write and frequencies you were never allowed to hear. Imagine waking up in a civilization where every law, every moral boundary, and every concept of good and evil was derived from a map that deliberately omitted half of the terrain. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is the fundamental reality of the Western soul, a Bible in a nutshell that has been cracked open to reveal a hollow center. The absence of female authorship in the biblical canon is not a mere historical footnote. It is the primary system error in the software of human consciousness. By interpreting the scriptures through a purely literal and masculine lens, you aren't achieving faith. You are maintaining a state of spiritual sedation. The source code, an analogy of exile. To understand the Dystopian Bible, you must first accept that Genesis is the source code of your reality, a code that has blossomed into the very structures of power that now govern your life. We are told this is a complete revelation, yet it is a symphony played by an orchestra that has silenced its most vital instruments. Where is the frequency of the one who carries the cosmos within her womb, the portal of life itself? This missing frequency is the ground zero of our modern disconnection, a fracture that has taught us to seek a God in the sky while we trample the sacredness of the earth beneath our feet. If you continue to read these texts as simple history, you are missing the formalization of your own spiritual exile. The blind spot protocol. The system you inhabit thrives on fragmentation, forcing you to view the divine through a mirror that reflects only the masculine ego, the judge, the warrior, and the legislator. This is the blind spot protocol, a psychological cage designed to prevent you from seeing the integrative nature of existence. Had a woman written Genesis, the fall would never have been branded as a shameful act of disobedience, but as the risky, necessary birth of human consciousness. In a feminine-coded Genesis, the serpent would not be the architect of evil, but the catalyst of a transformation that moves the soul from the infancy of Eden to the maturity of experience. By silencing this perspective, the system converted the original sin into a control tool, making you believe your very nature is a defect that requires external correction. The archetype of suppression. Why does the system tremble at the thought of a prophetess holding the pen? It is because the feminine frequency is inherently integrative, seeking to unite what the masculine logo seeks to categorize and separate. Without the books women would have written, we have inherited a manual of rules rather than a map of connections, leaving us as orphans of the Great Mother. This spiritual vacuum is the reason we are technologically gods, but emotionally barbarians, destroying our planet because we were taught to subdue rather than to cohabit. The literalist claims God only inspired men, but the awakened mind asks, which part of the divine was deleted when the human filter blocked the woman's voice? Hacking the gospel of the body. We must descend into the most guarded layer of the dystopian code, the denial of the flesh. In a world where women wrote the origins, spirituality would never have been something outside of this world or antagonistic to the body. The virus currently destroying your mind is the dualistic idea that the spirit is holy while the flesh is corrupt. A woman, through the visceral reality of her cycle and childbirth, knows that pain and life are inseparable sisters. A feminine Genesis would have canonized the body as a temple of truth, leaving no room for the shame of nudity or the exaltation of suffering. By erasing this frequency, the system deleted our empathy for matter, turning life into a commodity and faith into a currency for the afterlife. The resistance of the silenced. You might point to Deborah, Esther, or Mary Magdalene as proof of inclusion, but look closer at the dystopian pattern. They are guests in a house they do not own. They are objects of a narrative they do not control, their lives edited by a system that views them merely as helpers. We have lost the sacred female subjectivity, the very cosmogony of care that could have redefined power as the capacity to serve rather than to submerge. Their silence is the scream vibrating beneath every war and every environmental collapse. Where the sleeper sees tradition, the awakened sees a crime scene, a deliberate hit against the totality of human revelation. The restoration of the inner canon. This Bible in a nutshell is not a lament for the past, but a call to hack your own future. The Dystopian Bible is an invitation to stop looking for truth in dead parchment and start finding it in the pulse of life that the system tried to domesticate. To survive the coming centuries, we must restore the frequency that was deleted from our origin stories. We need a new Genesis that recognizes the hand that rocks the cradle as the same hand that dictates the law of compassion. Literal interpretation is the tomb where spiritual intelligence goes to die, and it is time for a resurrection. Conclusion: the shadow in the mirror. The system wants you to believe the book is sealed, that the silence of women was a divine mandate rather than a political edit. But the Bible is a living organism, and it is bleeding from the site of this ancient amputation. You can continue to worship the mistranslations, or you can begin to read the truth written in the white spaces between the verses, in the very breath of the women who were forbidden to sign their names. Our dystopian reality is the direct result of a story poorly told. The question is no longer why they were silenced, but what you will do now that you have heard the frequency. Eden is not a memory. It is a future waiting for those brave enough to restore the unity the system broke.